Looking to tap into the powerhouse network shaping Caribbean and Latin American hotel investment? Alice Cala brings together more than 550 leaders, top executives, and the region's most active equity, debt, and development firms for high impact conversations and serious deal making. Because at Alice Cala, people don't just attend, they create opportunities. Join us April 28th through 30 at the Lowe's Coral Gables Hotel in Coral Gables, Florida. Visit Alice Cala, that's ALISCALA.com for more information.
Hi, welcome. I'm News Editor Sean McCracken here with Hotel Equities CEO Ben Rafter. Ben, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Thanks, Sean.
So obviously the big news for you guys in the last year or so is the integration. Hotel Equities, your former company, Springboard, you kind of elevated to the top position of the combined company. How is that work going? Like what's different today than the day you guys merged together?
Yeah, we're a lot bigger, but no, it's we've structured the company so that there are three verticals, and the premise is running a full-service hotel is very different than running an independent lifestyle hotel, which was Springboard, which is also very different from running a select service hotel, right?
Yeah.
And so instead of trying to combine those, which we believe a lot of companies have done with only modest success, we've turned them each into their own divisions with their own P&Ls. And like, for instance, revenue management expertise is actually in that division versus across the entire entity, amongst other things. So that's been fun. Yeah. And then we've created what I'll tentatively call HE Labs for new technologies, new ideas, new new brands, things like that. And huge expansion in Caribbean and Latin America, all in the last 6 months. So it's been busy.
So the tech piece, I mean, that's kind of your background prior to hospitality, right? So did that play into the thinking there?
Yeah, we're not going to be in the business of building technology, at least not anytime soon, but we want a dedicated team to basically evaluate which technologies are going to work best, particularly in the independent space where you're not dictated by the brand. And I think it's critically important, it's needed as we adopt AI, and it's all hype right now, and everybody focuses on the front end and how AI will change search and how AI will change independent properties because your agent will know more about you than you do.
Yeah.
In the short term, we see AI being much more impactful on the kind of the back end of the industry. Scheduling, efficiency of ordering, housekeeping scheduling, food ordering, stuff like that. And we're all now using AI in search, whether we know it or not. And just think of how you've sort of changed how you interact with Google, most likely. But on the front end, I don't really see it being that impactful for a few more years. Yeah.
So the other thing you mentioned is growth in Caribbean and Latin America. Obviously, you guys recently hired Juan Corvinos, who a lot of people in that part of the world know from years at Hilton, pretty well-established player. What's growth in that region mean to you, and kind of where do you see the trajectory for that?
A little bit sky's the limit. Historically, there have not been a lot of third-party managers down there. And our approach is to actually locate the team down there. So we have teams in Guadalajara, we have teams in Mexico City, we have teams in some of the Caribbean islands or nations. And I like anywhere else, I don't think you can do it correctly unless you're located down there. So we've added Jamaica, we've added Mexico, across luxury brands, we've added Dominican Republic, we have several others. St. Thomas opened in June. So we've been really pleased. Technically, we've gone from 2 countries to 9, I think, in 6 months. They go quickly down there. But,
much smaller countries.
And Juan's team is doing a fantastic job. So having the presence in Mexico, we can prop up other ideas in Mexico. Like some of the accounting can be done in Mexico and a little bit near shore compared to doing it in India or Philippines, right?
So is the idea of that eventually, if you prove of concept, get scale there, to export that strategy to different global regions? I mean, obviously a lot of hotel operators moving into Europe, that sort of thing. Is that the goal?
Not necessarily. There's a lot of work to do in the Caribbean and Latin America first. And I said sky's the limit because a lot of people are just sort of embracing third-party managers for the first time. A lot of investment opportunity. if anything, maybe we keep going south from there and go into South America. But I'm always careful about getting ahead of ourselves. There's still, I think we're in 7 of the provinces in Canada now, so a little bit of room there. 48 of the 50 states, so we've got 2 more states to tackle, and then we'll worry about it.
Well, company has a Canadian CEO now, so that helps for growth in Canada, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of growth, obviously it's been a challenging environment broadly for hotel operators. I mean, it's historically change of ownership is a big moment for, growth opportunities. There hasn't been a lot of transactions. So where do you see the growth opportunities right now? Like, what are you guys doing to kind of move forward?
Yeah, 2 things. Clearly the last 3-4 years, labor's been difficult, margins are being squeezed, cost of goods has gone up. It's now at the point where things are so tight, I think a lot of people are going, okay, can my current operator do this for me?
Yeah.
And so that creates some transition opportunities. Obviously we've been talking about it for years, but you can't kick debt along forever. And a lot of these funds are 7, 8, 10 years in, anything pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And so the spread between the bid and the ask, I think, is coming down a little bit. A lot of people are saying, okay, I'm going to have to punt on this one and just move on to whatever's next. So that we think that will create opportunities. And I may be in the minority here, but I'm obviously market specific, but I'm modestly optimistic about 2026. Hard to say 2026 already, but
still feels like the far future when you say it. Right?
2022, COVID's only 2 years behind us type thing. But I take luxury out because that skews the whole market, as you're well aware. We're maybe 100 bips more optimistic as a whole than others. I hope some of the uncertainty with the administration in DC is you just become used to how it works. You make a big threat and you threaten something, usually tariffs, and then a day later we solve the problem, right? And I think maybe people are getting used to that. Yeah. So call me cautiously optimistic. And
you said the magic phrase.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't. If you go out there as optimistic, you're that guy when you're wrong, right? And the year-over-year comp's a lot easier too, right? We're comparing, especially in the back half of the year, we're going to be comparing it to a really terrible end of 2025.
So you did mention, though, obviously revenue's not expected to go through the roof, costs still creeping upwards. If the goal or if the end game of like winning new business is, superior operations, like what do you do to kind of thrive in that environment?
Highly efficient technology, highly efficient cost control, especially on the select and to some extent the full service portfolios. With the independents, I would view it a little bit differently. Obviously you want to manage your costs, but I think the independents have to double down on defining what they are. And if they do, I think that's where there's revenue opportunities, so they can kind of buck the trend. But if it's a Hampton Inn in pick a state or pick a city, I think you have to double down on just grinding down margins. Unfortunately, grinding up margins, but grinding down on expenses, unfortunately. And look, I'm being cautiously optimistic about basically getting back towards revenue and inflation are equal, right? So it's not really, it's just a little bit depressing, but you start climbing at some point.
Maybe that's the theme for 2026, just a little bit depressing.
Yeah, exactly. We've dug out of the hole, but we still have the mountain to climb, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So obviously your company is one that grew via M&A in the recent history. Do you expect that to remain, a primary growth vehicle for hotel operators? And are you dabbling at all in the market and what might be available out there?
Yeah. If you're a hotel operator, give me a call. But M&A is tricky because you have to merge cultures. Yeah. And at this point, I think I'm pretty good at it, having gone through a lot of sales and M&A activity. If you look at management companies in general in this industry and compare it to other industries, we're still so highly fragmented. Yeah. Look at airlines aren't a great comp, but at the end of the day, there's 10, 12 airlines in the U.S. and there are hundreds of management companies, and so compare it to almost any industry, we're still pretty fragmented, and I would like to pull some of those together.
So you mentioned kind of the hope that things that people are worried about are not as bad as they might have worried about before. The flip side of that is, are you as optimistic about the good things for 26, the World Cup, the 250th anniversary celebration? Like, do you think that those will come through the way that people hope that they do?
Depends on what people have modeled. I mean, we were at a previous event, and I think I was the first one to say we're going to hold rates way up here right until the very end, and it won't come in except for very specific markets and games, and then we'll drop rate at the end of the day. That doesn't mean I'm double negative, but it doesn't mean I'm pessimistic.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of some of these secondary markets. There is a lot of revenue being attached to World Cup that I personally just don't think will materialize.
Mm-hmm. Is that because of the international travel environment, or is that just because overstated expectations?
International travel, who knows? I mean, the administration has wanted to make this a great spectacle.
Yeah.
And so at some point, I hope that emerges. Like, where are we making it a great spectacle, right? But I just think there are a lot of high expectations.
Yeah.
And again, if the net gain in revenue per city is, call it $500,000 for one hotel, maybe the forecast is 700. You're still $500,000 better, right? Yeah. So is that optimistic? Is that pessimistic because I'm haircutting it a little bit? Yeah. I don't know.
Well, what do they say? Disappointment's the difference between hope and reality, right?
Yeah, exactly. But if international travel, I mean, I'm overly sensitive probably to Canada. That's going to take a while to repair some of these relationships, right? And so, will they travel for an event? I hope so.
Mm-hmm. Do you expect the Canadian World Cup impact to be any different than the U.S.? Because I know obviously they're hosting games too.
Yeah, well, I will say we had a great, comparatively to the U.S., we had a great year in Canada. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because they traveled intra-country a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I think Canada will do, somewhat dependent. If you're coming over from somewhere in Europe, you're probably not going to fly out just to Canada. Mm-hmm. So the two are aligned, but I think Canada's going to have a good World Cup.
Yeah.
As will Mexico.
Yeah. Canada obviously doesn't come with the secondary concerns, though, that maybe a European traveler would have for the
it's
US.
like somebody going to come fly into Vancouver or Toronto and then jump over the U.S. and go to Mexico City.
That would be quite a trip.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. So I guess we'll end just in the most broad sense possible. What do you think 2026 will be like? What do you think we'll be talking about at the end of this year?
So I'm going to say a little bit better than anybody expected, which is great. I'll go on camera saying that.
That's kind of an odd combination of more optimistic than the kind of consensus, but less optimistic on the consensus on the world. Specifically.
It's going to be group and business travel and other things. So it is a little bit odd, but I think World Cup aside, I think we're going to be modestly happy with how this year comes out. I think there'll be more transactions, especially comparatively to the last couple of years. And I would guess we're going to be here a year from now and saying, like, look, this could be a whole lot better, but either this is the start of the rebound, or back over there at Alice, they would call it we're in the first inning or the second inning, because it's always the seventh inning. Right?
Yeah.
For 20 years, it's been the seventh inning.
Well, now we're all stretching.
Exactly. And by nature, I'm not an optimistic person, right? I'm a realist, but I think we're off to, minus the weather, we're off to a decent start. And, it gets us back in the game, at least.
For sure. All right. Well, thanks a lot for the time. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thanks. Good seeing you.
Yep.
Hello, I'm Luke Haynes, People Newsletter Editor CoStar News, and the host of Top Credentials, a monthly podcast exploring the colourful careers of those working at the top of UK commercial real estate. In the episodes, we discover the valuable lessons influencing the daily decision-making of property sector leaders, and hear about the aspects of their job that make it a little easier to get out of bed each morning. We'll also ask for their views on the latest news and policies shaping our constantly evolving industry, and even get them to share a famous quote or song title they think defines their career or the profession. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This episode of the CoStar News Hotels podcast was recorded on January 27th, 2026 by Meredith Sheridan at the America's Lodging Investment Summit and edited for podcast by Sean McCracken. Head to costar.com/hotel news for more coverage from that event and more. You can find all of our podcasts on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or your platform of choice.